All right. Next up, making his way back, our efficient and our best man, Mike.
Thank you, Father Brother Mike here. Would like to bring up to the stage Andy's best man, Mike Iskandar. Thank you so much, Father Brother Mike. Great officiating job. Thank you. High five. All right, best man speech. Promise I wouldn't pick on Azita, so I'm going to focus on Andy here. First met Andy back in October of 1981 in a hospital where he had completed a routine medical procedure called birth. I was 2.5 at the time. I walked up, I said, "How's it going? Happy birthday." And he looked at me and he said, "Goo goo gaga." And then he just started crying. I thought, I don't know about this guy. But talked it over with my parents. We decided to keep him. About 6 months later, we moved to Painted Post, New York, where Andy and I spent a large part of our childhood. Had a great house, great neighborhood. But there was this bully that used to give Andy a really hard time. Unfortunately, he had his big brother to protect him, right? Well, the only problem with that is that his big brother was the bully. That's right, I admit it. I gave Andy just a little bit of a hard time as a child. I allegedly chased him with a hammer. I threw Nerf balls at him. I pinned him down and dangled spit over his head. And when he would lay down and play with his toys and go pew, 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 I would make fun of him for that. Now, if he had jumped around the house impersonating Michael Jordan, that would have been cool, but that was just silly. So it's safe to say we had a little bit of a rocky phase during our childhood. It was brief, it only lasted about 18 years. Then, in one of the greatest days of Andy's childhood, I went off to college, leaving Andy with the entire upstairs of the house and the car. You're welcome, brother. Fast forward 5 years later, I went off to college and graduated from college and joined fellow grad Dustin at the time, and we took off on a 2-year trip around the world. And during our travels, Dustin would often talk about all the adventures he went on with his brothers. And I realized I kind of missed out on that with Andy. And I realized that if I ever got back from these travels, I had to be a better brother to Andy. I thought a lot on my travels about my mistreatment of Andy, and I worried that it would come back to haunt me someday in some form of bad karma. And let me tell you, it did. By our mid-30s, Andy got a full head of hair, and I got this. Karma works in mysterious ways. Anyways, got back home, Andy and I started hanging out, and this crazy thing happened where we just developed this mutual admiration for each other. Andy admired the travels I was on, and I admired, along with his hair, the career path that he was on and the work that he would soon do in the field of autism. And most importantly, we liked each other. We shared the same sense of humor, same viewpoint of the world, and I began to really enjoy the essence of Andy. His kindness, his compassion, his intelligence, his imagination, and that distinct calmness from Andy. I remember once when Andy was in college, my dad said, "Why are you only taking 4 classes this semester?" And Andy said, "Because I don't want to get stressed out." And my dad said, "Well, what do you know about stress?" And he said, "Nothing, and I don't want to find out." Now that we're adults, our distance has grown farther, but our bond has only grown stronger. When Andy went off halfway across the world to South Korea, my parents and I went off to visit him. And when my parents went home, I decided I wasn't going to go anywhere. I was going to stick around with him. He was like, "All right, thanks for visiting family. It was fun." And I'm like, "I'm not going anywhere." And it paid off. Over the next week, we hung out, we talked, we traveled the country by train. We even lived in a Buddhist monastery for a couple days. Now that he's across the country in California, I get out to see him whenever I can for some of that great roasted cauliflower. And we really do enjoy every minute we spend together. And in North Carolina, we cherish the times we spend with my parents, playing boggle and golf, cracking jokes the entire way, and basically continuing this sort of miraculous evolution from me being his worst enemy to now being one of his best friends and the best man at his wedding. And let me tell you, my 9-year-old self, the one that was chasing him around with a hammer and Nerf balls, he would be freaking out right now if he knew this is how it turned out. It's a beautiful way that this has progressed. Now, along with getting this newfound long-lost brother in my life, I now get a sister-in-law, Azita. I will never forget how sweet you were to my parents and I when we first met. And I will certainly never forget that fancy breakfast back in North Carolina. I wasn't so sure about you before. She made my stomach happy, and that's when I knew you were a keeper. Lock it up, brother. This one's a keeper. And I have to confess that it was during that visit I actually started a file on my computer called Andy Wedding Speech, because I just knew. I knew. Now, Azita, as my sister-in-law, I do want to make a promise to you that even though you are my sibling, I promise never to chase you with a hammer, or to throw Nerf balls at you, or to dangle spit over you. Big promises to fulfill, I know, but that's the kind of brother-in-law I am. And to both of you, today is all about commitment, and I want to give you my commitment that I've got your back, I'm here for you. And as a flight attendant, I want to give some advice that when you face some turbulence in your life, just remember to take a deep breath, sit down, make sure your seatbelt is securely fastened, your seat back and tray table are in the full upright and lock position, and all your carry-ons are stowed. You are moving ahead at 500 miles per hour, so it's only a short amount of time before you get through the bumps and find some clear skies ahead. And I will be there for you the whole time to support you and hook you up with as many free peanuts and pretzels as you could ever imagine. Thank you, guys. Love you. Congratulations.
All right, well done, Mike. All right.